In January 2013, we, the last 4 remaining Falcon Express Cargo Airlines crew, were tasked with flying 2 of the Beech 1900 aircraft from Budapest, Hungary to Burbank, California. A trip that was scheduled to take 6 days to complete, but with many aircraft faults due to the extreme cold weather, it took 28 days. This is a record of that trip. We met at the bar in Dubai airport prior to the flight to Hungary for a beer and a discussion on the forthcoming flight. Corey Seinfeld and Chris McCarty were to take Alpha 6 Fox Charlie Delta, and Mark Holland and I, Chris Minchin, would take Alpha 6 Fox Charlie Alpha. The aircraft had already been in Hungary for 2 months or so, as they had been ferried there for storage at an old Second World War airport called Tokel. I had flown 2 of them there myself and thought that would be the end of my beach flying days. Mark Holland and Chris McCarty ferried the aircraft back to Budapest from Tokel, and during the flight back discovered there was many faults. That night in the hotel in Budapest, we waited for the engineers to advise us when the aircraft would be ready for the flight. The 2 engineers, James Astier and Martin Fixmer, had been with the company for many years. The faults were mainly electrical, and Martin and James advised us that this could take quite some time to rectify. So we settled down to looking around the sights of Budapest and waited for the aircraft to be repaired. A few days later, the engineers advised us that they would need to take some of the parts off Fox Charlie Alpha to ready Fox Charlie Delta. A few days later, Fox Charlie Delta with Chris McCarty and Corey Seinfeld were on their way. 2 days later, we were advised by the engineers that Fox Charlie Alpha was ready for departure. The weather was pretty bad, with predicted snowfalls for the next 2 to 3 days. This would require our aircraft to be de-iced prior to takeoff. Well, here we are in Budapest, just awaiting for the last of the paperwork to come through. It's snowing. We got the de-icing man all underway in another 30 minutes or so. We're just going to try and get some run-ups done, but lack of people here at the moment. Bit of ice on the aircraft, so we need the de-icing. But schedule's getting a bit tight for Manston. We've only got an hour's leeway because it closes, so we might end up having to divert to Stansted, which is okay, no big drama there. It's just they'll have to organise. Anyway, about to go, hopefully in about 40 minutes. The trip to Manston Airport in southern England went without incident. We refuelled and headed to Prestwick in Scotland, our first scheduled hotel stop. On arrival, we noticed the oleo on one of the undercarriage legs was starting to collapse. This required engineers to check it and to fix the problem. Mark and I went to the hotel for dinner and some much needed sleep. The next morning, after eating a good breakfast, we returned to the airport to see how the repairs were going and to check on the weather for our next scheduled stop. Keflavik, Iceland, a distance of some 741 nautical miles. The forecast was not so great, and because the only alternate was Reykjavik and only 20 miles from Keflavik, the weather there would be very similar. The engineers pumped up the oleo as best as they could and signed off the aircraft. Mark and I were not happy about a flight of that distance and no real assurance that we could get into either of the airports in Iceland with the forecast as it was. We decided to depart the following morning in the hope the weather would be better. Mark and I returned to the hotel for the night. The next day, with a better forecast in Iceland, we decided we would go. Catering delivered and refueling complete, we took off and set heading for Keflavik. 10 minutes into the flight, ATC calls us to advise us that they could not get our position from our transponder. After several attempts to switch to the secondary transponder, we decided that there were more serious problems as the TCAS was also not working. Reluctantly, we returned to Prestwick and the hotel. Well, we're obviously not gone because we're still here. Yesterday we lost our transponder 1 and 2 plus the TCAS, and we couldn't continue. So the engineers worked on the aircraft all day yesterday, and they've got one transponder working and the TCAS working. So we're going to have another go shortly. Beautiful morning, and the weather's not quite as good as it was yesterday in Keflavik, but still easily doable. But anyway, more from us later. All set, mate?
Yep, GPU coming, the assisted start.
Excellent.
Oh, it is excellent.
Excellent.
Yes, no, I'd have to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely day for it.
Yeah, shame I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it makes two of us.
With mounting pressure from Falcon management to get going, Mark and I considered the risk and decided to go. But first we would need to test the transponder in the air, as it could not be fully tested on the ground. This would require a short flight test to confirm that it was operating correctly. We refueled the aircraft, and with catering on board, once more we were ready to depart. This time, no further problems emerged, and Mark and I were on our way. The northern Atlantic Sea passed below us as we sat and ate the very good selection of food that the flight briefing office in Prestwick had provided. Scottish ATC handed us over to Icelandic control. We'd been flying for nearly 4 hours, so soon we would see the coast of Iceland ahead. At last the coast appeared, and soon we were being vectored by Icelandic control for the approach to runway 20.
1000.
Yeah, right. Red plus 10. Plus 5. Yeah. The red.
Chris and Corey had been monitoring our progress and would be there to meet us when we landed. At long last, we were in Iceland. But none of us could have predicted the problems that were still yet to come.